Alrighty, so all the games from phase one of this year's edition of Leeds Cup is finally over, and I'm actually glad the fact that I don't have to go to work tomorrow and I can afford to stay a little bit later tonight to watch these Leeds Cup game because I want to know who in the world thought it was a great idea to start this game 5 minutes before 9 o'clock. Like this is probably the latest start I've ever seen a West Coast game, and I'm pretty sure the East Coast they are probably even more upset about it because imagine watching a game and starting at 12 a.m. in the morning, and it goes all the way up to 2 in the morning. And I also would feel for those people that is running the post game show with Kevin Even and the rest of the band in terms of the fact that they mentioned they're gonna do a wrap up at 2 in the morning. I mean that sounds incredibly crazy to see, but hey, that's kind of how it is when it comes to the Leeds Cup, and we definitely saw a little bit of Leeds Cup after dark in terms of this game as well, and definitely a change of position in terms of the top four spot in the MLS standing of the Leeds Cup after this game as well. But with that being said, let us actually first talk about the first game, as I'm only going to do two games in terms of the selective game that I decided to choose for this final match day before we get into the knockout round. And we start off with Cincinnati versus Chivas. Now, coming into this game, I was hoping that, maybe Cincinnati is going to really go for it. I mean, I know they have 4 goals to make up for this one, but you would assume that, with the way that Chivas hasn't really looked that good in this tournament. I mean, they haven't really looked good at all in any of the Leagues Cup games that they have going back to 2023. You would hope that maybe Cincinnati was going to go for this one. Well, Pat Nolan had other ideas because in this one he didn't even try to basically they think about moving on to the next round. It's almost like they kind of saw the standings and say, yeah, that's impossible for us to make up. So they decided to punt this game away and focus more on the weekend matchup. And despite like that, I still think that even though they punt this game away, they play well against Chivas. They definitely created a couple of chances even with their backup squad. And I think if the regulars were in this game, there was no doubt that the regulars would have won against Chivas relatively easily. Now, early on, just want to mention this game was actually delayed an hour and 45 minutes. I believe this is the first time we see an Elite Cup game that was delayed because of weather. And what's kind of interesting is that just a couple of years ago, when both of these teams play against each other in the group stage, that game was postponed for until the very next day. So there's just something about Cincinnati and Chivas when they meet each other at TQL Stadium that the Mother Nature does not like that kind of matchup. It has the weather gods are definitely not smiling upon this matchup, and as a result, this game started 8:45. But despite the fact that it started late, it was still a pretty packed crowd inside the stadium, and a big part of that is because there was a lot of Chivas fans in attendance in this one. But there was no doubt that from the lineup, I immediately realized that Cincinnati was punting this game away in this turn away with a backup team. I might as well just put FC Cincinnati 2 in this one against Chivas Guadalajara because they throw a bunch of FCC 2 player in this one against Chivas. Though early on, Chivas had most of the possession, though the shots were only 1-0 in favor of them 15 minutes in. Loro would deny Romo from close range before Bubba they had a shot that was deflected and goes wide off a deflection. By the way, if you wonder why I'm sounding a little bit sick right now, I'm basically battling allergies right now. So yeah, for this video, you're gonna see me do this. I've been battling it for the last couple of hours. But anyway, in the 17th minute, Haglin would head it wide from the corner before a penalty was given to Chivas after VAR deemed that Onunga brought down Mozo in the box. Now, this was kind of an interesting one because one, I feel like this was a very soft penalty, and didn't the flag also raise before this penalty was happened? So yeah, wouldn't that be offside before the penalty was given? And then what's even more weirder is that a couple of seconds before this play happened, there was a handball that was looked like was committed. I forgot who exactly it was. It was one of the Cincinnati player that is. I think it was Teenage Adabi, the one that looked like he handballed in, and I thought that probably would have been called as a penalty because on the replay of that, it definitely looked like Adabi handballed it with an outstretched arm, but nevertheless, they decided to call the foul on Anunga, even though again that felt like a very soft penalty, and that probably shouldn't have been called a foul because the offside flag was already up before that foul happened. But nevertheless, a penalty was given to Chivas, and there was just a lot of confusion in terms of what exactly was called a penalty. But uh, Efrain Alvarez, the former Galaxy player, steps up to take the penalty, and he buries it. So that made it 1-0 in favor of Chivas. Gonzalez would then hit it right to Laurel, and this is Armando Gonzalez that hits it right to Laurel. There would be two Gonzalez late in this one. I think one of them was subbed off on for Chivas. So yeah, I probably should have put the first name initial because anytime when you have two players on the same team with the same last name, yeah, don't want to get that confused. Speaking of Gonzalez, this is Armando Gonzalez. That is, the post would deny him of the second goal for Chivas, but there was no doubt Chivas was on top. This FCC 2 squad was definitely holding on. Lauro would then deny Mozo from close, but we do head to halftime with Chivas only up 1-0 against a Cincinnati 2 squad. Now, in the second half, Cincinnati 2 was definitely bringing the cavalry and kind of started not really becoming like Cincinnati 2, started to look like the FC Cincinnati that we seen with some of the starters coming in. We got Buca and Valenzuela with something in this one. Eventually, we would see Evander something in this game for a bit, and also Lucas Orellano. It was kind of interesting to see the approach that Pat Nolan has in this one. I guess he also want to get his starters some minutes in this one to stay fresh coming into the weekend matchup that they have. But yeah, it was pretty clear that from minute one they were going to go through an approach that is kind of very similar to what you expect a team that is playing an exhibition game, maybe roll out the backups, but then eventually you put in the starting in to get some minutes. Flores would then hits it right to run hell before and Boba then would put it wide on the free kick. Cincinnati started well in the second half. No surprise because they had some of their starters in this one, and now we're looking to push for the equalizer. But instead, in the 56th minute, Chivas would double their lead as Armando Gonzalez would score from Efrain Alvarez to make it 2-0 in favor of Chivas. And yeah, that comes off a bad turnover from Cincinnati. And we said it so many times that this was one of the things that I mentioned in the video that I talked about some of the things I've learned in this Leagues Cup. A lot of turnovers by MLS team against Liga MX's opponent that ends up to be punished, and this was an example of it. And just like that, Chivas has a 2-0 lead in this one. Then the other Gonzalez, I think this is Brian Gonzalez, would hit it right to Laura in the 62nd minute. But then the 67th minute, Davila, the youngster making his debut in this one, he instantly scored his first goal for Cincinnati from Alves Pau to make it 2-1 in this one. So what a big moment for the youngster there, not only making a debut but just scoring it instantly coming off the bench as well. That usually doesn't happen very often, and when it does happen, that is definitely a special show moment, especially for a player that is making his debut. Runhell then denied Mboma and from close range. The momentum once again was back with Cincinnati. They were looking to press for the equalizer. Again, they were starting to bring in some of the starters in. I mean, up to this point, there was no chance of them moving on, even if they were able to come back from this one because they wouldn't have the goal differential to make it into the top four. But again, Pat Nolan, he wants his team to maybe get some minutes and maybe even try to salvage a resort out of this game as well and get some momentum heading into the next game. Valenzuela would then miss wide from long range before Davila tried to score his second goal in this with Cincinnati, but he missed wide on the header. But yeah, in the end, Chivas does win this one. This is actually the first regulation win that Chivas has had in their League Cup campaign. Yeah, it's safe to say that Chivas has not had an enjoyable time in the League Cup. In fact, prior to the game that they had where they won in a PK shootout. Chivas has never won in regulation, and this is the first time to do so. And it only took them facing against a Cincinnati team that basically put in an FCC 2 team in this one. Shots in this one, 15 shots per 9 that Chivas had, 5 shots on goal per 3 that Cincinnati has. 6 shots that's off target compared to none that Chivas had, and possession wise, or 5 shots that was blocked with a free that Chivas has, and possession wise, 56% possession compared to 42% possession that Chivas has in this game. And again, going back to the format itself and the big flaw of this format, I think this game is kind of an example of it where, when you have teams that are seems like they're out of reach in terms of getting that top four spot, they pretty much put a backup team, and then the game just kind of becoming a little bit of an vision kind of feeling, and that's something that I don't think a lot of fans would like to see, especially with this tournament, and especially this tournament has already been criticized in terms of the legitimacy. This game definitely does not help that with the way that one team clearly is thinking that they're not going to catch up to it. They're just going to punt this game away, and the other team, well, they were still starting most of their starters. They were already eliminated heading to this one. It was pretty much a nothing burger coming into this game as well. Now that being said, moving on to the next game, this game was definitely not a nothing burger. So as I mentioned before with the Portland Timbers last night, for the Timbers, will they regret that they didn't win that PK shot against America? Because as much as they got a point out of that one, you kind of had a sense that not winning that PK show, not getting that bonus point is going to come back to haunt the Timbers in a big way. And yep, it definitely haunt them in a big way because the Galaxy, I think from the moment go, you knew that they were in business in this one. They were trying to get one, maybe even one up Orlando City in terms of when Orlando was 4-0 up against the Cox. Now obviously that didn't happen in this one, but man, oh man, the Galaxy they from the minute that this game started, they were basically they determined to score as many goals as possible so that they can get into that fourth spot and overtake the Timbers in that spot. And it started literally 52 seconds into this game. Like when I say that the Galaxy meant business from minute one and was really pushing from the get go, they literally scored 52 seconds into this one as Joseph Pinto would score from Cuevas to make it 1-0 in favor of the Galaxy. And then he had another opportunity just 1 minute later, but he was denied by Acevedo on a 1v1 opportunity, and immediately I wrote, yeah, the Galaxy, they are meaning business. They already need just one more into this one so that they can, of course, get that fourth position. And a little spoiler alert, by the end of tonight, because of the fact that the Galaxy had a big margin in this one, they actually overtake Orlando City in terms of that third spot. So in some way, they actually did one up Orlando City in terms of getting a great result and take them in terms of the standings. Royce would then puts it high from close before Acevedo denied Royce from close in the 13th minute. The shots were 6-1 in favor of the Galaxy. It was all Galaxy. It was just wave after wave of attack that this Galaxy team was trying to get that second goal. But this is where, frustration started to come with the Galaxy. And this is where they despite having a lot of chances, they just couldn't get that second goal. It started with Garces headed wide from close before Painter was in on goal again, and somehow he missed this one on a 1v1 opportunity. I mean, Joseph Painter could have easily scored a hat trick in this one. He should have scored the goal in the second minute. I mean, it was a great save from Acevedo, but for a guy that just scored a minute ago, you would have thought that he would have had a lot of confidence to bury that one. And then this chance in the 21st minute, I mean, he went beast mode. All he had to do was try to chip it over the goalkeeper, and yet somehow he missed that target. I mean that is one that is not only going to frustrate Galaxy fans, but that is one that you're just kind of thinking, how in the world did he not even put this one on target? And like I said, that finishing I even wrote, it seems like it's easier than the one that he buried, and somehow the Galaxy still have only one goal to show for, despite all the pressure that they were putting against the Santos Laguna team. Pereira with a rare chance for Santos, but he puts it wide there before Peck would miss hits one at the top of the arc. Then he missed wide from close to the 32nd minute. The shots were now up to 11-3 for the Galaxy up to that point. But again, only one goal to show for it. And again, this is where maybe you sense that doubt is starting to creep in on this Galaxy side, that they just can't get that second goal to really be in the position that they need to do in this one in terms of advancing into the next round. There was a shout for a penalty that was not given to the Galaxy, but then in the 39th minute, and this has to be a huge relief for Galaxy fans, when Nascimento would score from Cuevas to make it 2-0. This was a goal that not only has been coming, but just a huge relief as well, because Galaxy fans thought that this was going to be one of those games where no matter what kind of finishing that they try to do, it's just not there. And judging how this season has gone for them, a season from hell, that is, you wouldn't be surprised the Galaxy would somehow fumble their way of missing chance after chance and not get that crucial two goal cushion to move on into the next round. Things would get worse for Santos though, as Lozano would get himself a second yellow card, and the Galaxy wastes no time to take advantage of it, as Maya Yoshida would score to make it 3-0 in favor for the Galaxy. Acevedo did make a save again to Painso, but he did gave up a juicy rebound. There was Yoshida on the doorstep, Johnny on the spot to clean it up, and just like that, it's 3-0 in favor of the Galaxy. And the frustration for Santos really boiled over even as the halftime whistle was blown. They absolutely surrounded the referee. One of the player actually said a magic word to the referee, and just like that, he got sent off in that. So Santos were down to 9 men heading into the second half, and all I'm thinking is, are we in for a 7-0 beatdown like what we saw in on the second day of Leeds Cup? When remember when Seattle scored seven against Cruz Azul in the second half, because the way how this game looks, it looked like we were in for another 7-0 beatdown. But in the second half, Acevedo would deny Painso from close. Again, Painso, I don't know how he only scored one goal in this one. He could have easily had a hat trick or even 4 or 5 goals in this one. He then had a shot that was deflected and goes high. There was just no mercy that was shown to this Galaxy team. They want more against a lifeless Santos team. But this is also where Santos, you kind of started to see that they're starting to show that frustration and sore loser mentality of really committing some really dangerous challenge on Galaxy player. And this is also where I kind of ask, if you're Greg Manny, do you maybe think about subbing some of your player out? I mean, I know ideally you would want to score another goal to even improve your goal differential and put this all out of doubt, but at the same time, with the way that Santos were really putting these hard challenges and kind of showing that sore loser mentality, the last thing you want is that you're able to move on into the next round, but there's going to be serious injury caused by a team that clearly has just lost their heads and lost their discipline up to that point. Peck would then hits it right to Acevedo before Nascimento puts it high on the volley. Notice I didn't write too much notes after this because, not only the fact that it seems like both teams were just kind of seeing this game out, but yeah, I mean, at 3-0, there was really not much to write notes about. But in the 74th minute, the Galaxy does get that fourth goal as Nascimento would score his second of the game from Sanabria to make it 4-0 in favor of the Galaxy, and that was pretty much it in terms of this game. There was no stoppage time in this one, and thank God there was no stoppage time because I didn't want this game to go later than it already is by the end of this game. But the shots in this one, 24 shots committed, 4 that Santos had, no shots on goal committed, 10 that the Galaxy has. I mean, the Galaxy could have been 5-0 up in the first 30 minutes, and that's not even exaggerating. 5 shots off target for the one that Santos had. Both teams had 3 shots on his block, and possession-wise, 64% possession compared to 36% possession that Santos has in this game. And again, with this win, and with the way that the Galaxy were able to get that four goal cushion, they are now able to move on into the next round, overtaking both the Portland Timbers and Orlando City in the process. Speaking of the standings as well, let's talk about the other game that is on that happened tonight before we look at the final standings that is. But yeah, in the other game we saw Charlotte actually getting a 2-0 win against Rayados. I mean, that is definitely a shocker considering Charlotte has not been playing very well in this tournament. And yeah, Rayados just kind of feel like maybe they checked out. The Red Bulls, of course, getting a 5-3 PK shot win against Juarez. That actually turns out to be big too, because I believe Juarez was in a pretty good position to make it. In fact, Juarez had to win that PK shootout in order to move on into the next round, and they lose that PK shootout. So as much as that PK shootout was kind of meaningless for the Red Bulls were, like what I said about Cincinnati, almost impossible for them to move on to the next round. But that doesn't mean they didn't play spoiler, and they definitely play spoiler in a big way, getting a PK shootout win and knocking out FC Juarez in the process. Then we also have the game between Cruz Azul and Colorado. That game is kind of also one of those nothing burger kind of game where both teams already eliminated. Cruz Azul does get a 5-4 PK show win over the Rapids in that game. But in terms of the final standings, at least we'll look at the top four. That is, so in the top four, in terms of MLS play, we got the Seattle Sounders, the only team to finish with nine points in this game, and they actually are the only team. No, actually, them and the Galaxy are the only team to score double-digit goal so far in this tournament. They finished with a godly +9 goal differential as well. Miami, of course, finished second with a 2-1 and 0 record. They finished with 8 points. I believe they and Toluca are the only team to have 8 points in the standings, but by the end of phase one. Then we got the LA Galaxy getting 7 points with 2-1 and 0 record, but they had a +7 goal differential, and then Orlando City again that 5-1 win against Necaxa, that is huge for them because had they not won by more than that one, that probably wouldn't be enough for them to move on into the next round. But they had a +6 goal differential with 7 points, and then after that you got Portland and Columbus also getting 7 points, but it was not enough because of their goal differential. Look at Liga MX. You got Toluca finishing in first place with a 2-1-0 record, of course, getting eight points, whereas Pachuca finished in second place with a 2-1-0 record, getting 7 points. But finishing third and fourth, looks like Liga MX team only needs 6 points, and that's enough for them to move on. Tigres, of course, finished with a 2-0-1 record. Puebla, of course, finished with a 2-0 and 1 record. But FC Juarez, of course, uh, are the odd man out with a 1-2-0 record. And the reason why they're the odd man out, despite having a better goal differential, they lose in the first tiebreaker, which is win, and that's why again that PK shot for FC Juarez that was a huge loss for them because if they didn't that PK shot was literally an elimination shootout for Juarez. They had to win that if they want to move on to the next round, but unfortunately not able to do so. So instead, Puebla takes the spot. So well, one Middles of course of Liga MX he's didn't make it. Another Middles in Puebla made it, and that's definitely a team that I don't think a lot of people thought that they would be the team that make up the top four alongside with Tigres, Pachuca, and Toluca in that spot as well. And then, of course, after that, you got Chivas finishing in sixth place. Club America finished with a dismal 10th place finish, whereas Cruz Azul, the reigning CONCACAF Champions Cup champion, they finished in 12th place out of the Leagues Cup group. Yeah, not great whatsoever. And again, that 7-0 loss pretty much really eliminated them in the first place. In fact, I think they're the only Liga MX team to concede 10 goals and double-digit goals that in this tournament. Obviously, when you lose 7-0 on opening night against Seattle, that obviously does happen. But now in terms of the matchup we're gonna see in the quarterfinal, that is, we got Seattle facing against Puebla. Seattle should probably win this one easily. I mean, this is no disrespect to Puebla, but with the way that Seattle is just absolutely rolling right now, and I mentioned they're probably the most impressive team out of the first phase of this Leagues Cup group. I expect them to win this one easily. But then it gets interesting because then you get Inter Miami taking on Tigres. That could be a very spicy matchup. And, we'll see how the health of Messi is going to be, whether he is going to be available in that game. But yeah, with the way that Miami has also been playing relatively well, except on the defensive end, that is. I mean, to face the might of Tigres, that's going to be very interesting to see how that's going to play out. Then, of course, you got the LA Galaxy. They are going to be playing against Pachuca. Pachuca is not an easy team to beat. I think right now a lot of MLS team realize that Pachuca is not no small feat. In fact, I think it shouldn't be a big surprise because didn't I heard that Pachuca was at the top of the standings in the early part of the season. They actually have got themselves off to a pretty good start to the season, and then Orlando City will have the almighty task to face against Toluca, a team that, yeah, not surprising that they finish at the top of the standing. They did win the title last year and even won the Campeones Cup against America just a couple of weeks ago at Dignity Health Sports Park. That is a team that is going to be one of the favorites, if not the favorites, coming out of the Liga MX to win this Leagues Cup. But yeah, very fascinating matchup that we're going to see in terms of quarterfinal. And expected, I think the quarterfinal is going to be happening in the middle of the week. And this is also where I'm going to basically from now on do a review of every single Leagues Cup game because there's really only what 7 games left to talk about. Well, actually, technically 8 because you also got the third place match that we have to talk about. And that third place match usually doesn't really matter, but it kind of matters in this tournament because that third place spot with the way that 3 team in this tournament would get that CONCACAF Champions Cup spot. Obviously, the 2 finalists will get the automatic spot into the CONCACAF Champions Cup spot. But that third place match is pretty much a battle for CONCACAF Champions Cup superiority, and the winner of that matchup will also earn the automatic spot of participating in the CONCACAF Champions Cup next season as well. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below what do you think of this video. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.